Doing it live and doing it now. Trusty 8. Apparently we are on. That was kind of fast. Silence this one. Friday morning, TGIF, or something like that. Don't exactly have a full plan for this, but I have some rough ideas. This will be a shorter stream. Hope everybody is doing well, and happy Friday. We'll check this out. That's what I was just watching.
No offense to the soccer player now. 142 UN nations voted against. Yeah, for what? What's the vote? For what?
So this is homeless incel Jesus. Just wanted to quickly note. So he's got, not that button, I hit the wrong one. He's got 45 people in the chat right now, kind of watching him smoke weed and bullshit. I thought that was kind of interesting. I was listening to some of the stuff he had to say out there in Fresno right now. So I won't do too much stream sniping there. He's getting his donos. But there's obviously definitely more than one way to do YouTube. Now we've busted, oh no, those are liked videos. Busted 200 videos in the watch later. Okay, and yeah, I really want to go over this Wilson one that he just posted yesterday, obviously. But yeah, the title of the video, I played chess every day for a year, and all I got was this stupid argument. Yeah, this insert here. This stupid shirt. I wish I'd gotten a shirt. So indicating that I did bust my daily chess streak, at least as far as puzzles goes, a few days ago now. I actually made it to like 377 days or somewhere in there, and then life happened, and I missed a day, and had a moment about it. I was like, man, I want to break my streak and all of that, keep it going, but really, what's a day not doing a puzzle? Doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. And when I think about, like, is the reason we do these things, like this online thing I'm doing, like chess, what is it? Well, it's just a game. Yes, it's like a game of strategy, but does chess make you smarter? No, not really. You can get better at chess, and it's good for keeping certain cognitive skills sharp, and but at best it's like a somewhat healthier online habit to have amidst all the other online habits. So what else might you be doing, like doom scrolling or something like that, right? But mainly, it was the ritual of the thing, and sticking to it and having that daily ritual. And I'm still playing chess daily, right? It's just had to, restart on my puzzle streak there or whatever. But all in all, it's like not the biggest deal in the world. However, for me, like it does seem to represent a significant shift in my patterns of behavior in my life and what I'm doing right now, right? And this is a transitional period, and it's a rough one. And I'm gonna be honest, like I'm a little stressed out right now. I'm stressed out. My girlfriend's stressed out. Going through financial struggles and having to work a lot of extra hours right now to try to make up the difference. All that being said, I'm still probably working, generally less, like, overall than I was a year ago, I think. I don't know, maybe that's a little debatable. But, in a different function now. So, so far, my experience, and maybe it's just because it's a new experience, but seems to be more rewarding than what I was doing this time last year, right? But it also comes with more effort and more struggle. So, all that being said, if you want to donate, always appreciate that. But I do have my Amazon wish list in the description for this video. I don't have any of my cash donation links there. If you want to buy stuff to help with the channel, because I'm definitely trying to upgrade on tech here. It's becoming a work issue as well. So there's that. Because I need, more advanced tech for my work as well. I'm probably going to need like a personal computer, whatever the fuck that means these days, right? But something better than my Chromebook. However, while I am operating with the Chromebook, there's probably things I can do to upgrade that so that we get better experience in the shows. So yeah, I will be hosting again more panels and open rooms and maybe some interviews here in the near future. This is not that day, but just to keep that fresh. So if you like shows like the last one we did with Skeptic Philosophy, Clockwork Rex, and Pixie Storms, definitely gonna be more where that came from. Just a matter of getting my schedule aligned and finding the time slots, really. Okay. We'll move on to this because I thought this was probably one of the worst arguments I have heard from Andrew Wilson yet, and his opponent does not really give much good pushback in my opinion, so I want to go through that. I was just at Shake Shack like a week or two, it was like 2 weeks ago, and I got one of their, it was like a chili dog with fried onions. Really delicious, actually, for like, a $6 hot dog or whatever. I was happy with it, so.
You don't think the government should have control over life or death? Mm-hmm. You don't think that the government should have control over us being drafted? These are all sovereignty arguments, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think the government should be able to tax us?
I would say yes, because I think that if you are benefiting from a society, which our taxes go to things like the roads, education, health insurance, and we could say the military as well.
Yeah.
We do benefit from these things.
So right there, where she says, well, we could say the military as well. She, I think, feeds Andrew's argument there in the conservative argument. We'll get into that more later when Andrew responds. But yeah, I'm not sure how this line of questioning comes about, because you clipped this out of obviously a larger debate, or what the argument was prior to this. I haven't seen this debate. I just know this clip. So
benefit from conscription too.
I don't know if we benefited from conscription during Vietnam.
Is that chat? Oh my goodness. We got our card. Long time no see. Thank you. Yeah. I think chess is good for the soul. Absolutely. I think my link is below. But you can find the Trusty 8 podcast. I'm on chess.com. If you do a God panel, I'll come on and argue for the existence of God. Oh, wow. All right. That would be an interesting change. All right. Yeah, we could definitely put that together.
Because again, I do feel like.
But you think we benefited from conscription in World War II, right?
I think the rest of the world probably benefited more than we did.
Okay. But do you see how strange it is to me? And I hear this from progressives a lot. Draft bad. Prison bad, government power over life and death bad, right? Government power over being able to tax you against your will, good. And the justification is always the same. Well, it's because you get something out of it. But here's the thing that is always so bothersome to me about this. So if I show up to your house, right, and I rob...
Hey, Pixie Storms, good to see you. If God exists, the arguments about the implications are so much more interesting. I tire of the argument of the existence of God. It can neither be proven nor disproven. Yeah. Unfalsifiability.
1/3 of everything that's in your house, right? And then I leave you with $2. Didn't you get something out of it?
So if I take $1 from you, but you still have $2 left over, did you still get something out of it? Obviously, you went away with something that you already had to begin with. but your $1, but it's not just that you're being robbed, right? Because let's say that dollar goes towards any of the number of services you're talking about. Okay, well then that serves me. I get to drive on the roads. I get to like just using the examples they put out there, right? Taxation is a lot more complicated than that, and in some ways, I have to go with like the conservative economist who says something like that the government doesn't have any money, right? All of the government's money comes from taxes. It comes from the people. The government itself doesn't possess currency. It is just an intermediary through which that currency is exchanged.
Well, you're just a random person robbing me.
Yeah.
I mean, are you building the road outside of my house?
Yeah, well, no, that doesn't matter, though. I left you with something.
I don't think that's the same as taxation, because again, when the government takes my taxes, now mind you, I have
It's
a lot
the same
of
as the
feelings
justification
about what
for
the-
taxes, is my point. Like, the justification is it's okay because you get something out of it. If that's the case, then if I leave you $2, you got something out of it.
I think that probably the benefit, ideally, the benefit of paying taxes.
I think that has to be one of the worst arguments, where you're just saying, well, if I just take one of your dollars, you still have $2, then you got something out of it. That's not really analogous at all, right? Like, that's just bad.
Would equal out to the money that I'm paying into the system, right? So, like,
No, I don't think
when
it
I
is.
pay my taxes, I would also agree that it isn't, which bothers me. I think that Americans
Like,
we
how
should have
does
more
my
say over where our
like my
taxes
taxes
go.
going towards the allocation of trans advocacy, gay rights, going towards the ideas of social justice, going towards the idea, like in Michigan, when Gretchen Whitmer took a bunch of the treasury in COVID relief and spent it on minority disaffected rates of COVID-19 instead of putting it towards critical infrastructure. How is that good for me exactly? How do these things? How do they?
So he's complaining about a number of things here, right? One is like the advocacy of social justice doesn't generally, I mean, yes, it does happen at the systemic level, but most of those people who are doing that, right, are people from the community, and then they get into advocacy in whatever areas it be, like, so, but they are doing that as individuals. It's not represented in the government per se, right? And then there are groups that are formed, coalitions within these organizations, right? Which is, again, within the organization, but it is not the function of the organization itself. And then you do, in fact, have organizations that are formed, like NPOs and NGOs, those types of things, that are in that realm, right? So they, by definition, they're receiving private funding, donations, and it's just not taxable, right? Just like a church. But those organizations, so they're not getting tax money, right? They're getting non-tax money. So anyway, I just think he's all over the place on this one. And then the whole thing with COVID relief, well, if you say, well, there's like some disenfranchised group, maybe they're impoverished or whatever, so they can't afford health insurance, so they are more adversely affected by COVID or whatever, then we could allocate those funds to make sure those people receive those services so that sickness doesn't further spread. Once again, this is the domain of public interest, right? Public health. So, Christian Carpenter, good to see you. See the conversation in chat. And
These things actually beneficial to me.
Are you from Michigan?
Yeah.
What is power? The better question is, how much of it can you handle?
I live in
How
Michigan.
much can you handle?
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose that would be beneficial to other
Yeah,
Michiganders,
it would be
but
beneficial to
presumably
not me.
You also presumably
Right. So if $1 of yours goes to benefit your neighbors, and maybe you don't like that neighbor very much, I don't know. But yeah, I would say charitability is not accounted for here. And And then there's, again, that argument that, well, charity should be freely given. Taxes aren't necessarily freely given in that sense. So I think that's a slippery slope, though, because then you start taking away all public health programs, all social welfare programs, and then you end up with just a lot more people dying in the streets, basically.
You also drive on the roads, right? And
how much of my taxes do you think need to be spent on roads? Like, let's say communally, in Michigan, I pay $20 a year in road tax. Don't you think communally, if everybody in Michigan paid that, it'd probably cover the roads? But I'll just grant it even higher. Let's say $200 a year. $200 a year from every person in Michigan communally. Now we got the roads taken care of. All right? What the else am I getting here? What am I getting that's so great?
Well, Andrew, and so I guess I'll just put it in here because it hasn't come back up. But you know what you have? You have the largest military in the world. You have the. I don't think we have the largest standing army, but we have like the most bombs, the most guns, and probably some of the better technologies out there, right? But that's what you get. You get a big ass war budget. And, that's the argument from most of the left is that, if you take money out of that war budget and you put it elsewhere, right, we can fix a lot of these problems just with that money alone, right? So you wouldn't have to add new taxes. But what does the government do? The government continues to add new taxes and increase military spending, right? Ever increasing military spending, even in times when we are not in conflict. And supposedly the objective is for us to be, a country that is not perpetually at war, and yet they keep perpetually spending the same or more consistently on supplies of war and things of this nature, right? Like if we're not doing it ourselves, then we are funding others who are doing it, right? We're not only financing our own military, we are subsidizing the militaries in other countries, supposedly in our own interest, right? But how much of that is true? I think that's a very valid argument right now. Is this in my interest to continue funding this?
Public education that's pretty good.
Well, let's take a look. Where do we rank in public education?
Poorly.
Yeah.
Our schools suck.
Yeah, and who's in charge of those? Women, right? Women are the ones who
No child left behind.
Well, aren't women the ones who get all the degrees in education? And they're the ones who inundated the education system. They're basically in charge of education in the United States, and it's been an abysmal failure, right? So I look at this and I think, well, wait a second. So
did you say women are in charge? Let me just back that up.
Ones who get all the degrees in education, and they're the public education.
Poorly.
Yeah.
Our schools suck.
Yeah, and who's in charge of those? Women, right? Women are the ones who get...
No child left behind.
He's saying that women are in charge of public education. Again, no, by and large, women tend to gravitate, I think, more towards teaching, especially younger children, and then the university system, that might even be like arguable. But there's still men, like at the tops of those boards, right? Like educational boards and stuff like that. There are many men in education. The idea that women control education or have any type of monopoly on the education system is batshit crazy. In fact, that's actually a sexist trope that like the best job a woman can do is be a teacher, right? And that's all she's really fit for. And that's because it entails caring for children, right? Actually incorrect on both fronts.
Well, aren't women the ones who get all the degrees in education? And they're the ones who inundated the education system. They're basically in charge of education in the United States, and it's been an abysmal failure, right? So I look at this and I think, well, wait a second. So what I'm getting for my taxes is I'm getting subpar education, some of the worst in the world, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. There's other terrible, there's like terrible third world nations that do better than we do in reading and things like this. So I'm not getting that. So I have to opt out to homeschool kids so that...
What's up, Tog? And my awesome life. I'm not going to repeat that, but what's up?
They can even read and write by the time they're old enough to take on the world, because they're not going to learn that in school. What they're going to learn in school is how to have sex, right? They're going to learn how to have sex, and they're going to learn all sorts of social degeneracy and all kinds of crazy. They're not learning to read.
So, and again, just manipulating what's actually happening. What is sex education, right? It's teaching kids how to have safe sex. It's teaching kids about consent, right? And they may teach you that other people have different sexual preferences than you do, right? I don't think it would go deep into that, beyond, like homosexuality or things like that. But the idea that like sex ed is teaching kids anymore, like it's it's like how to put on a condom, when to practice safe sex, why safe sex is important. It's really like basic stuff. And the fact that we have to have those conversations with kids in the school setting is merely a reflection of the fact that parents are too chicken shit to have those conversations with their kids in real life. So maybe that's a you problem, not a problem of the education system, and you can still have those conversations with your kids. They may hear something different at school, because you have some different opinion that is, actually not aligned with reality. So anyway, that's your personal moral stance. It doesn't have anything to do with the nature of the education. The education should still take place. It's objectively useful.
Right. They're learning how to engage in modern.
Yeah, My Awesome Life says the same thing. Sex ed taught me about safe sex and how to stand up for my boundaries, and I use that knowledge my entire life. Exactly.
Social dynamics, which are generally pretty terrible for kids, especially when you introduce smartphones, technology, things like that. And I get roads, right? And the roads in Michigan, I don't know if you've ever driven on them, but they suck, right? I mean, they're just terrible. So what the f- am I really getting here? Like, what is the deal? What is it that I get really for my taxes?
Well, I don't know a lot about Michigan.
Well, forget Michigan, just period.
I would say that I think that
Well, yeah, in general, if the quality of your roads is not good, and you might look at what is being spent there, how that money is spent, and that's got to be public information, right? Whether or not you're able to parse out the numbers you're looking at, but there's got to be a public record somewhere how that road money is spent and where and when and etc. And if you have like a problem spot in the road, anybody can just go petition the government and say, hey, there's potholes out here, hey, this road's wonky, whatever, and you could just go pester your local politicians about that.
General, my goodness, did George Bush not implement the No Child Left Behind policy, and did Reagan not got funding?
Dr. Mordecai Cassius Marcellus Jones Jr., good to see you this morning. Trump comes from Germany, right? I think his dad did.
For public education, because I do think that the funding is certainly an issue.
Take a second.
There's many
Hang on.
teachers-
Take a second
Okay.
and look up who spends
and
the
Tog said, how do you stop outside influence before you get to tell your child? For example, to see animals going at it or something without your knowledge. Yeah, there's things you just don't have control over. And whether or not they're taught anything like by a teacher at school, I remember long before sex ed, I learned things from my classmates in grade school, like way before, and my parents never really had to talk with me, but I learned a lot more about sex earlier on just from my peers who had somehow been exposed to it. And I don't know how they got exposed to it, right? But I mean, at that point, you're off and running, and you're asking questions and you're kind of seeking knowledge once it gets introduced to you. Most of the time, I guess, if you don't have some element of repressing that, So.
most on public education in the world.
So what I got was the United States spends the most on public education globally, both in terms of total expenditure and per pupil spending. While other countries like Luxembourg and Norway may spend more per student in certain educational levels or as a percentage of GDP, the U.S. overall investment in education.
So it can't be funding, can it? It must be something
Is that
else.
by percentage?
It literally just told you. It's per both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
We spend the most both per person and in general. So how can
Okay, this is where we got into it. So, or this is where I got into that thought of, okay, but he's saying we spend the most money on education out of any country in the world, but what do we also spend more money on, right? Because there are other, and I've already, indicated this, what else do we spend more money than other countries? There's a lot of things that we spend more money than other countries on, and the question is, what percentage of our taxes going to each thing. And if you look at the other budgets, like the defense budget, just to beat that dead horse, you could say, oh, well, we spend way more on that. And we could probably put some of that back into education, and we'd still be spending more money on both, right?
Do you
B,
agree
hang
that,
on,
like,
hang on. Let me just
administration
ask. How could it possibly be that progressives really believe
Dr. Mordecai said kids like to play doctors. Yes, I remember doing that.
that funding is the issue when we literally spend so much, so much
Kids say, if you show me yours and I will show you mine, done that too.
more than other nations, and this is the product we get?
Well, again, I think you would agree that like the administration is bloated, and also funding can be determined by area and tax bracket.
So pay teachers less?
No, teachers I wouldn't consider to be admin. Admin is like the bureaucrats,
Well,
essentially.
let's find out. What do public schools spend the most on in the United States?
So this is, in U.S. public schools, the largest expenditure is consistently on instruction, particularly teacher salaries and
Oh, wait, what was
benefits.
it? It was teacher salary.
Teacher salaries
Uh-huh.
and benefits.
Yeah, so
But teachers also
hang on. So
little in
now, just so you
comparison
know, now we've established that not only do we spend the most, but then you say when it's bloated, right? The whole thing is bloated. I say, well, wouldn't you cut teacher salaries? Well, we don't spend it all. That's exactly what we spend it all on, isn't it? So we're paying these people. We spend the most amount of money paying these people to not teach our kids anything. How is that a good idea? Doesn't that sound like a terrible idea? The whole reason I wanted to have this discussion with you is so I could show you. I'm not some frothing, foaming at the mouth crazy person. The opposite.
You kind of are, but
The truth is that I've just invested a ton of time into researching how these different infrastructure or these different
Oh, Christian Carpenter, enjoy your lunch. Good to see you.
programs work and how the world around me works. The reason you didn't know that we spend the most on education, the reason you didn't know that we spend the most in schools on teacher salaries is because you've been fed a pack of lies. Like what do you think you're really getting? Or
So the whole point of this, right? And so we're trying to, oh no, this narrative over here is a lie. No, both can be true. These are not mutually exclusive concepts. We are the richest nation in the world, and so we have, and we spend our money. That's our whole thing. Is big capitalism, right? Richest country in the world spends lots of money. Now, how are we spending that money? And so if you're saying, oh, well, you didn't realize that we spent the most on education, most of that money goes to the teacher's salary. Okay, well, that's all in line with having a good education system. You have competent, well-paid professionals who are being fairly compensated for their work, right? And so, there's some argument. I think people say that our grades have been slipping over a period of years, which may have some truth to it. But we're also not as rigid in instruction, so we still have more freedom in our education system in a way. I think that students how do I say this? They're encouraged to kind of look around at what is being offered and what they want to do, rather than in other countries where I think it's still more like I can't think of the term for this right now, but where like your father was a doctor and so you're expected to go to school and be a doctor, and so on and so on and so on, right? They still do that in other countries that we're comparing ourselves to, like India and places like that, right? And we don't do that so much here, as far as I can tell, at least not within the system itself, maybe within the family unit. So, all right, and so that's, I kind of went off on something else there. I may have missed my point, but it's okay.
for the purposes of education in schools, like what do you think any of this social justice does for you or your kids or the people around you, or any of this?
Yeah, I don't know where they're teaching social justice in school, except like maybe at the university level, it may be an area of study. but like within the basic curriculum, I don't think it's there.
Bloated spending and teachers' salaries are always complaining they need to get paid more, and yet they get paid some of the highest wages that teachers get paid anywhere in the world, and we spend the most amount of money on their salaries. Like, what else can we do?
25,000 to 87,000?
Yeah, compare.
But, I mean, in most industries, we would get the highest wages compared to anywhere else in the world because we're America. Remember, that was the whole capitalist thing.
Comparably. So we're doing a comparable, like what is comparable? We're spending the most amount of money in the world, and most of it's going to teacher salaries.
I mean, is it because we just have a lot of people in the U.S.?
No, it's because, well, no.
Well, it's also, we have very few social nets compared to other countries. So, educators are going to have to spend more to exist.
Don't you think that an obvious idea is that if you bring in tons and tons and tons and tons of people from very poor nations, that you're going to have to spend a ton more money on their education because they don't speak the language, they don't, things like that. Like, how is that? That's not helpful to us in any way, shape, or form. It just takes away and reallocates resources away.
So it's also not helpful to us if we're bringing in these people from other poorer countries or whatever. Put on your scare quotes, right? Like, are we in any way contributing to the impoverishment of that country? Are we in any way enabling or furthering wars taking place in those regions that might increase the likelihood of more refugees coming from that area? And, are you partially responsible for that?
From domestically born citizens. It seems so silly to me. How much of our money, capital, and treasure should we be spending on all of these people, this massive influx of people?
And yeah, like he thinks he killed it there, obviously, but I'm not convinced. I think that was very poor argumentation on both parts. She didn't really have good pushback, and I think that's why he clipped it. He thinks he's making himself look good. I disagree on that. A little palate cleanser, and shoot, I didn't have the video here. I'm gonna have to go back to, but palate cleanser.
Change is inevitable, unless you decide it isn't.
Savage beauty. Look at that powerful body. Strength, grace, magnificent form. How does the tiger manage to keep himself at the peak of physical fitness for his entire life? He doesn't lift weights, work machines, perform calisthenics or aerobics, and he doesn't jog, yet he can tear the head off a man. His power comes from his own exercise system, far different from man's, and also far superior. It is the ultimate exercise system, which I call Tiger Moves. Ironically, when man sets about to improve his health and physical fitness through exercise, he devises systems which lack the simple wisdom of the tiger. Low-impact aerobics has far less injuries than high-impact, as does belly dancing with its smooth and completely natural moves. Tiger Moves, the best and most natural exercise system man can use. I'm John McSweeney, and I'm going to cover 7 of these basic tiger moves. Inhale back with tension.
Are you ready? We're gonna learn these tiger moves. Bob, we proved God today, guys. Nice. All right. Welcome to the chat, Bob. He said, always fact check Andrew. Yeah. I mean, I think some of that just falls under. I think he's being dishonest myself. So this is Tiger Moves with Bob, I think his name was. Wait, Bob? Was it Bob? No, Bob's the guy in the chat. Can't remember this. Anyway, yeah, I found this and enjoy.
Exhale forward. Try to reach for the stars. Reach as high as you can. With tension, great tension. Go forward with great tension. Feel the tension in the triceps muscles. Think into those thigh muscles, the quadriceps, the hamstrings. The next tiger move is the stomach roll. This exercise now from the side, I push down and roll up. Flex, force it down. Come up. You just learned in this tape 3 critical areas of life and self-defense. I'll leave you with one thought. It pertains to nations, it pertains to the individual. First a warrior, or all else is folly.
Okay. And so we got that, and you can kind of gauge the seriousness of all that with your own, use your own judgment. It's fine. All right, so I think I saw a clip from this video. Anyway, so we'll cover that later. I want to go find this other one. Liked videos. It'll be here.
No roots in the land. She converts to Judaism and now she has the right to live there, get a home. And it's insane to me. You get people claiming a 3,000-year-old right to go and settle the land. I grew up in Gaza and I already have this serious fear that I may not be able to ever return. And, you know, your family and all of the Palestinians who come from there are not allowed to return. And by the way, the right of return of Palestinians is enshrined in international law. And yet, Israel has its own law of return, which stipulates that any Jew anywhere in the world, Jew or Jewish, so converts as well, can just go and live in Israel.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people who are not Palestinian, Arab, Christian, Muslim, don't know this. They don't know that we're not allowed to go back. They don't know about this right of return, or that Jews can go and you can convert to Judaism and just be more welcome than a Palestinian whose roots are from there. And I think it's really, really important to keep reminding people, because they just think we don't. I just got a message from this English guy. He's like, I'm not Jewish, but why don't you just go back to Gaza and fight instead of sitting on your sofa in London?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are now trying with the Samud flotilla. Let them.
I didn't even reply to him, because it's like, do you think people want to be refugees or children of refugees living in a country they don't belong in and they don't want to be in? Who wants to live in a cold, miserable place? Yes, and I am sitting on my sofa and I am upset and frustrated, but that's where I can do it from. I can't go back. Neither can you. And I think it's really, really important to keep reminding people, because they're just like, just go back home. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
You can see it. My dad is 81. I mean, he's been crying silently for decades because he's never going to see home again. He saw it last when he was 3, 4, and he's never been allowed back. My mum also, they know they're going to die before they go home again. People don't realize that millions of Palestinians are suffering that you can't just buy a ticket like we go to Spain or France or Hong Kong. Nobody wants to be somewhere else, you know, except for the Zionists who came from Europe. They want to be where we want to be. They're happy there because it's beautiful.
All right, so yeah, I wanted everybody to see that one because I think it presents an important argument, and it's kind of similar to different but similar in the sense of like people coming from Mexico and South America, who largely their countries have this like internal conflicts, right? That they can't be there safely. That's why they're refugees, right? And we just say, well, just go back to where you came from. But they're not safe where they came from. And if they were, maybe they wouldn't have this motivation to come here where they believe they will be safe. It's arguably less true today than it was, a few years ago, right? I don't think people would necessarily prefer to leave the area that they were from, like most often. And damn it, I just realized I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I can do it this way. So I'll just, I'm just going to link that video in the chat so you can go check out the channel. just gonna link. Okay, and there it is. So yep, I played chess for a year and 12 days straight, roughly. I think that was what it was, but obviously I missed the day. I can't be entirely certain. But okay, down to 201 videos. All right, let's watch this last one just to remind ourselves where we're at. You know, if you're not well aware, this one, just so we're down to 200. Keep our numbers nice and even.
But through it all, the core of Charlie's message and his basic method never changed. It never really changed. He stayed the same person also. At every campus event, Charlie asked the people who disagreed with him to come forward, and instead of silencing them, he handed them a microphone and let them speak. And he'd convinced so many of them. It was a pretty amazing thing to watch, actually. Shortly before Charlie arrived on campus, the day he was assassinated, a staff member texted him that there were many critics and students who were opposed to his views and rather strenuously in the crowd. And that actually made him feel good because he wanted to convince them. He understood. He really did. He understood what was right. And he was right about that. A lot of it was based on common sense, by the way. Charlie wrote back.
I always say, now people are saying, there's no such thing as common sense, but I hearken back to an old saying that common sense is not so common.
To the staff member, saying, I'm not here to fight them. I want to know them and love them, and I want to reach them and try and lead them into a great way of life in our country. In that private moment on his dying day, we find everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent.
So yeah, so much for being the bigger man. But we already knew this about Trump, right? We were just waiting for him to say it aloud. I'm sure he's probably said it aloud before and it just got glossed over. But I just want to remember this moment because at least in terms of optics or vanity or whatever you call this, right? At least Charlie Kirk had the good sense to pretend that he wasn't a hateful person, even if he did spread hateful ideas. But Trump has no compunction regarding deeming himself a hateful person and acknowledging that he is spreading hateful ideas against his quote-unquote opponents, ideological, political, what have you, right? Trump openly hates his opponents. So I don't know which is more admirable. I don't know.
And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't.
Yeah, Bob, did Arcart seriously define God into existence? Uh-oh. I'm not paying attention to that talk, so that's... I hope you all are having fun. That one's for another time for me. And My Awesome Life said he's stirring up the right to have no remorse for the left. Exactly. Desensitizing. They've been doing that the whole time. Okay.
Stand my opponent.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated.
I hate them and I do not wish the best for them, as if we didn't know that already. And I'm very surprised. I'm just going to say the next one I want to look at, not today, but at a later time, is Atheist Republic is backing... Atheist Republic is backing Charlie Kirk here in a big way, and really surprised me. So, yeah, I kind of want to cover that because I know Armin tends to lean a little conservative on some issues and pro-Israel. So right now he's definitely saying some things that I don't necessarily agree with. but we'll do that later. I gotta run. But thank you to everybody in the side chat. We got Pixie Storms, Arcard the Immortal, this one guy, My Awesome Life, Bob, welcome again. Good to see you on the channel here. I know we had the Christian Carpenter back there, and hope I didn't miss anybody. Much love. Be kind, be well, and stay trusty. Was there anything else? No, I think that was it. All right. Happy Friday, TGIF.